Welcome back to the DSR channel. It is day 90 since the first video. Crazy milestone for me. And we're over 1,600, which is fantastic. 1,600 subscribers. So thank you all very much. And if you're enjoying this kind of content, give me a like and subscribe. That would really help. And if you don't like it, give me a like and then don't come back. I don't know. All right. I'm covering the Eberron, the new book that just came out, Eberron, Forge of the Artificer, and all of the stuff in it. It's got a lot of player options, and as I've mentioned a few times, it's really light on lore, kind of like lore snippets throughout. And most of the lore is still in those two books we previously had, uh, Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron and Eberron Rising from the Last War, which have a great deal of awesome lore. Kind of, and they're very lore dense too. So they're actually pretty easy reads, even though it's a lot of pages of lore. So I was just diving into it again this morning, and yeah, it's not bad. All right, but we're talking bastions here, and the new facilities we get. And but first, before we get into the facilities, they have this new concept of mobile bastions, which is very cool, right? One of the downsides of bastions is having it, you build it in a place and then it's stuck there. And if your adventures start taking you to other cities, nations, continents, like how do you interact with your bastion, right? You can get a sending stone and send the messages and still issue orders, but you can't send anything to the bastion. You can't retrieve anything from the bastion. You can set up a teleportation circle and then you can teleport there and back, and that works. There's different ways. But this is a different way to solve that problem, which I like a lot, which is a mobile bastion. And the way the mobile bastion works is, um, and the way I would probably run it as a DM would be you can just turn your bastion into one of these vehicle forms. It says it must be a vehicle form and it has to have one of its special facilities must be a propulsion facility, which is these three: the Lyrandar Helm, the Navigator's Helm, and the Orien Helm. Lyrandar Helm is for like flying airships, right? And that's Lyrandar. The House Lyrandar is the what used to be half elves. Now it's just anyone with a mark of storm, and they are the ones who create these like elemental flying airships that are powered by fire and lightning elementals. Okay, and then you got the Navigator's Helm, which is just for regular seagoing vessels, and then you got the Orien Helm, which is for the lightning rail system run by House Orien. And each of them have different, like each of those vehicle types had different pros and cons. Um, so choose what makes the most sense for you. And you can combine your vehicle bastions into one bastion, right? Because one of the base rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide is that the players can combine their bastions, um, which is cool, right? It gives players just a little bit more tie together to be working with each other instead of just playing near each other. And in this case, if you tie your mobile bastions together, each player's bastion must have the same propulsion facility. So if you're going to have a flying airship bastion and you're going to combine those into one, then every PC's bastion, their portion must have a Lyrandar helm. So if there's three PCs, you have to have each of those has to have a Lyrandar helm as part of their bastion. So it's kind of expensive from a bastion facility perspective. And those don't really add any other functionality other than allowing the bastion to be mobile. So it's expensive, but the benefit is your bastion's mobile. So you can just not only can it move around, but you can just ride it. You got to get to the next continent for some next part of your major campaign. You ride the bastion just to the next continent. There you go. Um, yeah, and so they all have to have the same one too, right? So if you're going to put it on a seagoing vessel, all of them have to have the navigator's helm. If you put it on an Orien, on the lightning rail, all of them have to have the Orien helm. So there's a mobile bastion, all right? And there are like 10 new facilities, and these, frankly, they did a better job with these, making them interesting and unique, and not just copies of what was already in the Dungeon Master's Guide with a different name, like they did with the Heroes of Faerun. So I like these better, right? So far, everything about factions, renown, and bastions, which are all kind of interrelated, they've done better with this book than they did with the Heroes of Faerun book. So I guess I could learn from this one. And this one was supposed to be released first, so that's interesting. All right, first up, Artificer's Forge, and they have a new prerequisite that didn't show up in the Dungeon Master's Guide, obviously because artificers weren't in the 2024 Player's Handbook. So this one is the ability to use artisan tools as a spellcasting focus, which limits it to artificers only, right? Only artificers have the ability to use, so far, to use artisan tools as a spellcasting focus. Now, you only need one level of artificer to do this. So you could be one level artificer, 19 levels wizard, and still do this, okay? So the Artificer's Forge, you get 2 hirelings, and it's like the Smithy, the Arcane Study, the Workshop, right? Those are the 3 that allow you to craft. Oh, and the Sacristy, I want to say. They allow you to craft, when you are level 9, allow you to craft magic items, right? Each of them has their own subset of magic items that they can craft. Artificer's Forge, you get it at level 13, and you can replace facilities, right? So if you have one of those facilities, like a workshop, and you're an artificer, you can upgrade it to the Artificer's Forge at level 13 and just replace it. The Artificer's Forge has no restrictions on categories. It can make any common and uncommon magic item, and you have 2 hirelings, and it specifically says right here they can help each other, which the other facilities do not say. Which I guess by the fact that they say they can help each other and help you, in this one means that those ones cannot help you or help each other. But these ones can help each other. So not only can they make any common and uncommon magic item from any category, and they have any proficiencies they need that are required to make that work, uh, they do it in half the time because they help each other. So they're faster than all of those other facilities. So this is a big upgrade, right? And only artificers can do it. So I guess that makes sense. The other advantage is, like I said, they can help you. So you can craft anything using this, and they help you craft it, which if they both help you, they cut the time. That should cut the time into 1/3, right? Because each one contributes an equal amount of help. So if you use this to craft, and both of them, instead of having an orders, for however long the bastion turns last, instead of them working on their own product, they just help you with what you're creating, and it's 1/3 created in 1/3 the time. Also, the other bastion facilities that craft items are limited, and it says if the item casts a spell, you have to craft it. Your hireling can't. Whereas this one says if it requires a spell to be cast, they can do it. So they can craft anything. So they can craft enspelled weapons, enspelled stabs, all of that stuff, armor, which is great. And whenever a magic item in your bastion regains charges, it regains 1 extra expended charge. So they always like like Wand of Fireballs. Roll 1d6 to regain charges, or maybe it's 1d6 plus 1. Now it would be 1d6 plus 2 or whatever it is. It regains 1 more if it's in the bastion when the recharge event occurs, which is just dawn for most of them. So if you're just there at dawn, it regains another charge. This one's really good. I like it. It's interesting, it's flavorful, and it's a very nice upgrade for artificers, something making them unique and more differentiated and more powerful in their way that they should be more powerful, which is making, crafting, right? Construct Forge. So this is level 17 Bastion facility, and again, it's only for artificers, or at least a level 1 dip for artificer, right? There are 2 hirelings, and it creates constructs, and you've got a table of constructs you can make. It says how long they take, and so this is going to be really important for the DM to decide how often bastion turns occur versus time in game. Whereas what I do is it's 1 bastion turn. We get it every week of real game time, like in the real world, every week. So I just do it on Saturday. Every Saturday, a new bastion turn is activated. You can resolve your previous bastion turn and execute orders for the next, right? Every week, regardless of whether we play that week. And in game, it's 7 days of time for the bastion. So that way, it's just a very easy math to say, like, well, I started this one then, and it ends. When's it going to end? Well, 2 bastion turns. The animated armor ends in 2 bastion turns, right? Or an animated broom or animated flying sword ends in 1 bastion turn. That's how I do it. That is, they do kind of recommend that in the Dungeon Master's Guide as being the easiest to work with, but it says you do not have to tie it to that. You can make 1 bastion turn a day or a month. All right. So you can churn out these constructs. They can act as defenders for you if you want, but they don't have any, like the higher CR constructs you're creating aren't any better as a defender than the lower ones. So if you really want defenders, depending on how your DM runs the events to make, if they tweak the event system to make it more meaningful, to make the barracks and defenders more meaningful, then you may want defenders. And I would churn out a bunch of the lower level constructs first and make those my defenders. And then I would start creating the higher ones and not use them as defenders, but maybe have them accompany me on adventures. So note, though, that the Warforged Titan is the most powerful one. That's a CR8. And if you create it, it's likely to start war. It's going to restart the last war that just ended, right? So the Rising from the Last War, you're just starting that over again. This gigantic civil war across all of Corvair. So keep that in mind. If you make that one, you might start a major war, the major war again. but it's a CR8 creature, so that's kind of cool too. If you want to avoid the war, Shield Guardian is CR7, so one CR lower and still pretty good. Takes far less time and doesn't start a war, so you may want to go with that one. But this is cool. I like it. It's flavorful, and if your DM does play and makes tweaks the system so that the defenders are far more meaningful, I would swap out my barracks and do this instead. And there's no limit to how many constructs you can just have sitting at the bastion. So you could have 20 animated brooms and 20 animated flying swords, and those are your 40 defenders, and then all the rest you use for actually going on adventures with you. All right, Dragonmark Outpost. So this one requires 10 renown with any Dragonmarked house, whether you're a dragon, you have the Dragonmark feat, like you're an heir of the Dragonmark house, or you just joined it later. You have to have 10 renown, which usually you can hit around level 5. And when you add this facility to your bastion, you gain 1 more renown with that house. And it's interesting it says that when you add this facility, because technically every time you level up, you can replace a facility. So when you level up, you could remove this, and then the next level you could add it back and go back and forth and gain this renown benefit multiple times. And it's kind of shenanigans a little bit, I guess, but you're gonna get away with like what 7 more renown than you should have over the course of the entire 20 levels. I don't know. If you're willing to do it, I'd probably allow it because that means you're going to do without this benefit every other level, and this benefit is quite good. So this works with your Dragonmark feat. So if you're going to get this one, you would definitely want to have one of the backgrounds that makes you an heir of the house and gives you a Dragonmark feat. Because what this does is it gives you a level 2 spell slot. Yes, a level 2 spell slot. It's only once per long rest, and you have to spend your rest in the Bastion. And if you do, then you get a level 2 spell slot. Not regain a level 2 spell slot. You get a new level 2 spell slot, whether or not you have one. Okay. And you can only use it to cast spells that you have prepared from your Dragonmark feat. Okay. Now that prepared is important because if you're a spellcaster, those spells from the Dragonmark feat are added to your spell list, and then you choose to prepare them using your spellcasting or pack magic feature. However, if you get the potent Dragonmark, you automatically prepare all of them, and now you qualify for this too. Even if you're a non-caster, you could be a barbarian and you get this spell slot, this level 2 spell slot from this Bastion, and you get the level up to level 5 spell slot that comes back on a short rest from the potent Dragonmark feat. Yes, a barbarian can do that. I guess a DM could interpret it a different way. I just don't see how you interpret a different way, right? Because that feat, Potent Dragonmark, says you prepare all of them. It doesn't say anything about a qualifier for the spellcasting or pack magic feat, which means it works like Fey Touch, right? Like if a barbarian took Fey Touch, they have Misty Step prepared and can cast it, right? That's how it works, and that's what it looks like. I don't know how you could read the Potent Dragonmark a different way. It says you prepare them and you have a spell slot. It says nothing about a requirement for spellcasting. So this is very cool. Very cool. An extra second level spell slot, which is probably not much, like not a big deal if you're a full caster. I probably wouldn't invest in this if I was a full caster because the second level spell slot isn't great. If you're a half caster though, at level 5, you only have second level spells. So this is another top level spell slot for you. I think that's worth it. And if you're a non-caster, this is even more valuable for you. A second level spell slot when you didn't have one, and if you got the Potent Dragonmark, you've got only one spell slot that comes back on a short rest, and it scales from level 2 to level 5 by as a spell slot by the time you reach level 9, and that's very, very good. But it's nice to have another spell slot that you can use, and you don't always have to be burning that level 5 spell slot. You could use a second level spell slot. So this is great. And then the orders you can issue is Empower, which and the subset is House Favor, which essentially just gives you another one of the favors you qualify for your house. And it doesn't count against the favors from Renown. This uses a favor from the facility, except that you can only call in this favor once each time you gain a renown. So when you first create the facility, you can use it once, and then you can't use this order again for this facility until you increase your renown score by 1 at least. So you would gain it at 10. You can use it once when you're renown 10 if you build this right away, and then you can use it again at renown 11 and a renown 12 and 13. So you get a maximum of 40 extra favors from this. And some of those favors are pretty good. So this is nice. Inquisitive Agency. So you can qualify for this one at level 13. It has one hireling, and that hireling is a secretary who maintains an extensive directory of useful contacts and helpful agents. And it has the order research, information gathering. When you issue this, it works very much like the pub research from the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is this one, which is it'll get information on somebody within 50 miles of your bastion. The pub will learn the location of the creature and where it's been for the last 7 days. So this is a little better than the pub in that you can learn where it is, where they've been, what they spent money on, whom they've met with, and where they've shown identification papers to the authorities. So you gain a little bit more information on them. And so this is pretty good if you are a creative type of player, creative in gathering information and then leveraging that information to overcome challenges. All right. If you're that kind of player, this is awesome. If you're not that kind of player, probably skip on this one. It's not going to be super good for you. Then we have the Kundarak Vault, which is available at level 9. It requires a renown score of 15 or higher with House Kundarak. And it is a vault. Okay, so it is an extra dimensional space where you can store things. You and your Bastion hireling can access the vault door at the Bastion. Okay, now this benefit, Kundarak Access, means you can access this special vault at your Bastion from any Kundarak vault anywhere in the world, right? So you go to a Kundarak vault if they have one at the main city Sharn, or even in Stormreach on Zendrik, the other continent, and you can access your Bastion vault there. And this one says only you can access the contents via a Kundarak bank, Kundarak vault, right? So if you go to one of their Kundarak facilities, you can access your vault through them, but your hireling can't. Right? Your hireling can only access your vault from the Bastion door. That's the difference between these two pieces right here. That piece and this piece. Okay. I was confused at first. That's why I wanted to emphasize it. And then the orders are. This is the same thing as a storehouse, and the storehouse is one of the best facilities. You should probably frankly, you should probably always have a storehouse if you can deal with the complexity of tracking the inventory, and micromanaging this inventory of trade goods that you buy, and then sell to make a bunch of profit. But at level 17, it's going to make you 5,000 gold pieces per bastion turn, which is a lot. At level 5, it makes you 50 gold pieces per bastion turn, but you can't get this to level 9, right? So the storehouse you can get earlier. This one is a little bit later. So it's really just a storehouse with the additional multi-access points and the fact that it is secure, right? People can't sneak into your vault. However, I've been heavily involved in cybersecurity for the last 8 years, and as everyone in cybersecurity knows, the number one attack vector is people. And yes, that is your same problem here. If they break into your bastion and they take your hireling, threaten them, take them prisoner, and force them, they can open the vault and then still access all of your stuff. So you might just be better off if you let that hireling die. It's not cool, but it would keep your stuff more secure. But if he's not, or she is not alive, then they can't be issuing these orders for you and buying and selling stuff, and then you're missing out on a lot of money. So maybe just have a bunch of defenders is probably the way to go. A bunch of constructs for free. Yeah, this one's very good. The storehouse is one of the best, and this adds a little bit more stuff on top of the storehouse. So if you're Kundarak, get this. Replace your storehouse with this, 100%. The Lyrandar Helm. This is one of those facilities that I mentioned earlier that is required to make a mobile bastion. And this is House Lyrandar, which is the Mark of Storm. So you have to have 25 renown with House Lyrandar. This allows your bastion to be mobile. And the airship's Helm crew station is part of this facility, so the Lyrandar Helm. And when you issue the Empower order to this facility, you instruct its hireling to pilot the Bastion to a destination you specify. The Bastion travels at the vehicle speed for 8 hours per day. There was a note that I forgot to mention earlier, which is in a mobile Bastion, if you combine them together with other players, then each of these hirelings can make it travel for 8 hours per day. So if there's 3 of you, they can work 24. Your Bastion can travel 24 hours a day with these hirelings working in 8-hour shifts 24/7. So it can go further, which is one of the benefits of combining a mobile bastion. Probably the only benefit of combining a mobile bastion. I mean, other than the standard fringe benefits of combining bastions in general. And there's an interesting note here that says whenever you issue this empower order to the facility, you automatically roll in the Bastion events table, regardless of whether or not you issued maintain orders, right? Normally, you only roll in the Bastion event table if you issue maintain orders. In this case, this also triggers the Bastion event. So a little more interesting things happens, which I guess makes sense because your Bastion is like flying over the land. Things are bound to happen. You're going to run into things, things are going to attack, whatever, right? So I do like that as well. Manifest Zone. So this one's interesting. You just need to be able to use any spellcasting focus as a prerequisite, and it's a facility that creates a portal connecting. You can't travel through the portal, so it's some kind of connection to one of the other 13 planes in Eberron's Planes of Existence, which I showed in my lore video, which I put out just before this one. So you can go look at that. But this connects to one of those. And what it does is you can issue the empower orders, and when you issue the empower orders, they perform rites for 7 days, and then you, without having to be present, gain a charm. The charm you gain is specific to the plane that this manifest zone is connected to. And when you create the facility, you choose one plane to connect it to, and it's stuck with that one. However, if this is part of a mobile facility, mobile bastion, then you can actually, every time you move the bastion, you can reconnect this manifest zone to a different plane. So that is another reason to make a mobile bastion. All right. And the charm you gain is dependent on the plane you've connected it to. So if you connect to the plane of Donvi, you get a charm that is essentially casts lesser restoration, but without action economy. So no action required. You just end one of those conditions on yourself. And those are all the same conditions that the lesser restoration ends. Then you've got Dolur, which basically allows you to upcast it. And the charms are expended once you use them once, right? So this allows you to upcast by 1 level a necromancy spell. Right? Furnia, this lets you upcast a fire spell by 1 level. Irion, the Eternal Dawn, this lets you upcast a healing spell or a spell that deals radiant damage by 1 level. There's a common theme here. You got Lamania, the Twilight Forest. This allows you to upcast any spell that conjures or summons a beast, elemental, or fey by 1 level. Mabar, the Endless Night, when you cast a spell that summons, animates, or summons undead, it automatically upcasts, not automatically, when you use the charm, it upcasts by 1 spell slot level. Risia, the Plane of Ice, when you cast a cold spell, it upcasts by 1 level. Shavarath, the Battleground, when you score a critical hit, you can expend a charm and deal an extra 10 fixed damage. This is not affected by the critical, so it doesn't double again. Just a fixed 10 points of damage to the creature hit by your critical hit. And the damage type is one of the damage types that your hit already deals, okay? Then you have Serenia, the Azure Sky. This charm gives you the fly speed for 1 minute. No concentration. Pretty nice. That one might be the most universally usable, right? So if you're not a spellcaster, if you don't care about upcasting those things, this is a solid one to get, especially if you don't have any other way to fly. Thalanus, the Fairy Court, when you cast an enchantment or illusion spell, you can give one of the targets, disadvantage on its saving throw. That's actually really strong. This is a lot better than all of the upcast by 1. I mean, the upcast by 1 is good. This is a lot better. And then Zoriat, the Realm of Delirium, when you use this one, when you use a spell slot to cast a spell, you can expend this charm and roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. If you're a wild magic nut, this is a good one. There you go. So this is a solid and interesting facility, right? And those charms last indefinitely, right? So once they perform the rite, you have that charm, and it lasts indefinitely, and it just goes away when you expend it once. All right, Museum. This one is another level 13 facility, has no prerequisites, and it is a lot like the Archive from the Dungeon Master's Guide. It has the orders are the same, which is your Bastion hireling basically does research, and you get information as per the legend lore spell, which is like many things. If you're that kind of creative player who is creative at acquiring and utilizing information, that's super good for you. And if you're not that kind of player, this is super useless for you. Okay, but that's the orders. Now it has this additional thing called Secrets of the Past, which is your museum contains 1 treasure that gives you a magical charm when you spend 7 days studying it and then finish a long rest there. So this is one where you have to spend downtime, like the training area, right? You have to spend 7 days of downtime to get the benefit. Now, this one actually has an additional requirement, which is 7 days of downtime plus a long rest of the Bastion, and then you get this charm. But the charm, in this case, the charm only lasts 7 days after you acquire it, which is, in my opinion, an unnecessary amount of additional paperwork that doesn't add enough value to make it worth it, right? And both for like me as the DM and as the players, because you're tracking like how much time is passing and how many days has it been and what day did you get that and what day is it now. And for some people, probably the very small minority of people, you're totally fine with that amount of paperwork, and it's great. For the rest of us, I recommend just ignoring the duration on that and just say these are not powerful enough that it's a big deal. Just say it lasts until they use it, so that you and the players don't have to track time as closely, because right, the fun of the game. One of the ways to really improve the fun of this game is to reduce the paperwork overhead, which there is a lot of with D&D. Reduce that any way you can, both for me as a DM and as players, because I want to have fun as a DM too, and reducing paperwork as a DM helps me have fun. So I would just ignore that. Ignore the duration. Just make it easier on yourself. These are not that powerful. Okay, but the charms you get are all based on these continents that, again, I showed in my lore video, or the continents or civilizations from that lore video. So if you're wondering what these are, you can refer back to that. I covered some of these, not all of these. Well, I didn't cover Ashtakala, but I got the rest. So you can go look at that lore video. All right, so Argonessen, that is the civilization of dragons. So you know, as long as you have the charm, you know Draconic, and you can expend it to cast Dragon's Breath at level 4. Charm of Ashtakala, as long as you have this must be those overlords, this civilization of overlords that I actually did talk about in the lower video. As long as you have this, you know Abyssal and Infernal, and when you expend it, you can cast Ray of Sickness at level 4. Charm of Dakan, I think that was the civilization of goblinoids. Yep. And when you have this charm, you know the goblin language, and you can expend a charm to cast Staggering Smite. Charm of Kyber, while you have this charm, you have Dark Vision to a range of 120 feet, and you can expend a charm to gain True Sight with a range of 60 feet for 1 minute. So that one's pretty good. And Kyber is the under dragon, the dragon below. Remember, the evil one that killed Sybaris, the dragon above. And then you have the Charm of Zendrick. That was the civilization of giants. While you have this charm, you know the giant language. As a bonus action, you can expend a charm to change your strength score to 25 for 1 hour. Wow. Wow. That's good. And then you can enlarge this facility. It costs you 2,000 gold pieces to enlarge it. And once you enlarge it, you now have 2 of these treasures. And you can, and you have additional hirelings. It doesn't say that they can perform 2 sets of orders simultaneously now, but you have 2 of these, right? So every other Bastion turn, you could have them perform the rites for one and then perform the rites for the other. And you would have both of these charms. Again, if you ignore the duration, then you can have both charms simultaneously, or you can only have each charm once for 1 week. I don't know. Again, that kind of weakens it and makes it almost pointless to enlarge it. You would have to know 7 days in advance you're going to face something that's really important to have one charm versus the other charm, which is, again, an unnecessary amount of paperwork overhead for not a big power gain. So I wouldn't worry about it. Navigator's Helm. You can get access to this one at level 9. There are no prerequisites, and it does the exact same thing as the Lyrandar Helm, except that this is for ocean-going vehicles, right? Boats, galleons, warships, those kind of things that float on the water. Otherwise, it's identical. And then you have the Orien Helm, which is the same thing again. But this one requires you to have 15 renown with House Orien. Otherwise, it works the exact same as House Lyrandar or the Lyrandar Helm. And this one attaches specifically to a rail cart to travel. Otherwise, identical to Lyrandar Helm. So these are all pretty interesting and cool. I like the idea of the mobile bastions a lot. I'm currently running a Planescape campaign, and they have a mobile bastion, but only because of a low, in-game written right in the campaign reason, right? And so I really like how that's working, and so I really dig the idea of mobile bastions in general. And so I would lean into all of these, and you can just rename the houses in your other campaign. If you're using a campaign world other than Eberron, just rename those factions or whatever. This could be the Harpers, right? Could be Lord's Alliance, no problem. And I would still leverage these facilities and allow your players to have a mobile bastion. if they want to, right? If they want to spend a facility on it, let them have a mobile Bastion. So pretty cool stuff. Like I said, I think they did better with these than they did with the Bastion facilities in Heroes of Faerun. But Bastions are a lot of fun to play with, so I encourage you to give it a try. And thanks for watching. If you don't have enough D&D in your life, you can find me on Start Playing Games or join my Discord. Links are in the description of the video. There's also a link to the Google Drive where you can download my assets, so you can look at this stuff offline. And otherwise, remember to be cool when you play D&D. It's a game. It's for fun. Catch you next time.